I am Cliff D. Andrews. I am a stand-up comic and an actor, and I am 31 years old, and I'm really happy to be here.
Is this your first dating profile?
This is my first.
What's your sign?
I'm an Aries. I really enjoy butter.
We all enjoy butter.
No, not everyone.
Well, thanks for joining us, Cliff. We
Yes.
really appreciate you coming by and your patience. This is the first interview we've not done on my couch downstairs.
Awesome.
And we tried doing streaming stuff downtown, but you can't trust the internet. I mean, literally the Wi-Fi comes and goes, and so the idea originally for the show was to go downtown and interview these people live and do it live every week, but that's just not possible.
Yeah.
This works better. I mean, most of this equipment, and I want to point this out as a thank you to the folks that made it possible, was paid for by fans of the show that donated to our GoFundMe.
Nice.
And so it gave us enough money to buy the 2 cameras, all the accessories, and the rest of it we've just kind of put together with stuff that we were already using, we have around. I mean, we actually have 3 cameras going, but...
We were also able to pay for this gorgeous studio.
That's right.
To film this.
Now this is a lovely, beautiful, like you can't see because the camera's focused on me and my audio, but there's an actual waterfall in the corner here.
There is, yeah.
This is the Take Mohini compound.
Yeah.
You know, I'm sorry you had to ride the elevator so far beneath Johnson City to get here.
You know, it was a little bit of a tap. My head started to hurt a little bit because we were so far underground.
And when you surface, you're going to have to go real slow.
Okay, so because that's to make sure my eyes don't pop out, right?
Yeah.
Because I know that happened before.
Yeah,
with
people have been known to
shut
get
back
the
in.
bins from visiting us.
Yeah, no, that makes sense.
Thanks for making the trip, and thanks for being patient as we got all set up. Well, we've been chatting a little bit, but we're holding off on a lot of the interesting stuff.
Yeah,
but like you said, stand-up comic, filmmaker. I first became aware of you from some of the short films that you'd been in, and then on your YouTube channel. I'll tell you what it was when I saw It Always Rains on the Plantation.
Oh, is it always or is it never?
I'm sorry, did I?
Well, you know what?
I'm sorry, I screwed it up.
No, that's okay.
It's Always Sunny.
I know. Well, that's why you messed it up because I intentionally picked that name because I'm a huge fan of that show. We were talking earlier about projects that have bad audio, so it ruins the whole thing. That particular short is probably my favorite thing I've ever been involved in. However, it also has some of the worst audio I've ever been involved with. So I would actually like to reshoot that.
Yeah. I think that has so much potential. I watched it and I'm like, this is the kind of stuff that people need to be doing. I mean, just
awesome.
the thought that went into it, the execution of it, the acting was great. I mean,
awesome.
I really enjoyed it. Yeah, the audio. I'm a filmmaker myself, and sometimes I can't help. But
right.
That would have been better, but it doesn't matter. The content of that thing is fantastic.
Well, and I'll say, I was nervous. I'm always nervous watching local people do things. Okay, he and I were talking about it before you got here. Is because you have, it's this feeling of going to see your friend's band.
Yeah.
Like that nervousness. And I watched. So I watched It Never Rains on the Plantation, and then I watched State of Franklin. And I was cracking up, and I was like, I'm so excited.
I'm really glad y'all enjoy that. Like, I will say, I try not to invoke the dread of seeing a friend's band ever. I try not to, but I understand exactly what you mean.
We do a web show. We have people don't watch us for the same reason. Oh, they're talking about Johnson City. It's like you're double screwed on that.
You're double done.
You're a local talking about your hometown. I'll go watch some more.
But there's so much interesting. Johnson City is really under the radar. It's growing, and it's got so much potential for growth. There's so many interesting people here. There's so many interesting things that happen. There are national acts that. Okay, ETSU, our local college, East Tennessee State University. They have a spring and a fall concert every year. It's always a huge artist. Always. It's never someone that's like you never heard of. It's like.
And we got tons of great lecturers too.
Yeah.
All the time.
Oh yeah.
Lecturers coming. Kevin Hart's performed in the last 7 years at ETSU.
I was out of town that week. The one that breaks my heart. Chuck D came to campus, and I didn't know about it until the next day. I didn't even see the promos, and I honestly, I'm a big Public Enemy fan from back when I worked in radio, and it killed me.
I didn't know that either.
Years ago.
That's still cool though.
I worked there. I'm like, how did I not know this?
That's one thing. I think when people think of this area, or when you think of East Tennessee, to me, before I moved, to Johnson City, my first thought was Knoxville, because that's what you think, or even Chattanooga or whatever. But then you skip over and you go, oh, well, then there's Asheville right there. But then most people, they kind of just overlook Johnson City, and I'm like, wait. Johnson City's actually, it's on the come up. And if you go downtown right now, there's so much more stuff than it was even 5 years ago.
Yeah.
All kinds of new breweries, there's new parks, there's, they've got at least 2 new festivals that have arrived since I moved here in 2009.
Oh, and now we have this year will be the first, outdoor festival? I don't know what Mountain.
That's right.
Something festival.
They announced it a few weeks ago. It's an outdoors. It's celebrating the outdoors.
I think it's based in Founders Park. There'll be events all over, like in Jonesboro and stuff like that.
Really?
Yeah.
I had no idea.
It was really announced kind of quietly. I only saw it. It was days after on the Johnson City Press, a photo popped up. I'm like, another festival.
Well, I had my 10-year high school reunion last September, and there was this girl I was talking to who I remembered from high school, and she lives in Manhattan now, I think, and is like a fashion designer or something. And she was like, I brought my fiance with me, and he was like, this place is so cool. And she was like, but I told him, I had no idea it was this cool. Like, when I left, it was a shithole.
Right.
And I was like, yeah, I feel rewarded for staying.
Yeah, you earned your keep.
I earned
you come here, Johnson City's going to reward you. Stick around.
I'm sorry.
You
said that you didn't grow up around here. Where'd you grow up?
So I grew up in South Carolina. It's a small town called North Augusta. Augusta, Georgia is probably the more recognizable town name. It's probably 2.5 hours away from Atlanta.
My mom lives in Spartanburg.
And
my brother lived in Greenville.
So my mom lives in Greenville now, and then my sister goes to school up there near there too. It's like two and some change.
So it's around that northern.
Yeah. I mean, you can get there in a day and back. Yeah. It's easily a day trip. I went to high school in South Carolina, and I ended up in East Tennessee because at the time I did marching band. If I wasn't weird enough, if you didn't think I was already weird enough.
You're in the right place.
Okay, cool, awesome.
Believe me.
I did marching band, and at the time I wanted to be a band director. When I was in high school, that's what I wanted to do, whatever. I was 16, 17 years old. So my band director at the time knew a band director up in Tennessee and was like, hey, they need help with their low brass. When you graduate, you can come up here and help. They'll help you find a place to live. There's a school in town. So I was like, yeah, sure. So sight unseen, I graduated, literally moved up to East Tennessee and went to this school called Hiawassee College. Mm-hmm. It's in Madisonville, Tennessee, and please never go there.
I've been there.
Oh,
I know what you're talking about.
I'm so sorry about that. No, it's Madisonville. That's just that town is perpetually stuck in the year 1936.
It was weird in the 90s when I was there.
Well, yeah.
It was bizarre.
Both in infrastructure, technology, and in ideology. It is stuck in the 30s. Just take that for what you will. But either way, it got me up here. And so from there, I came up to East Tennessee State University, fell in love with Johnson City. Fell in love with it. I was just like, this is where I'm going to live. If I ever have kids, this is where I'm going to raise my kids. And, that's still, the ultimate goal is still to live here. No matter what I do with my career, this is where I want to end up. Because it's, like I said, it's growing. It's got so much potential. And and
it's so gorgeous around
It's beautiful.
here. You can't find
anything
anyone.
You want.
Yeah.
You're surrounded by mountains here, which I love. If you don't have a huge fondness for mountains, I guess that doesn't really do much for you. But when you're driving down not market. When you're driving down, what is that one road? It's like you're coming from like well, let's say you were on Market Street and you go to that Chick-fil-A and you turn left to whatever that road where it's headed towards like the campus and stuff and
State of Franklin?
State of Franklin. Is that what that road is? Okay, State of Franklin.
Yeah.
You see the outline of all the mountains. You see Buffalo Mountain, and it's just like it's beautiful. It looks like a painting.
Yeah.
I've never had that anywhere else. I've lived in other places in East Tennessee, and it's like they're beautiful, but like Johnson City is unique.
Yeah.
And it's just got so much stuff that's just Johnson City.
Well, and I find that a lot of people get pulled back. I know tons of people who moved to bigger cities because they wanted to be something, which I'm not. That's fine.
Right.
I'm not shitting on that.
But no, that's always been a joke.
But they always come back.
Yeah.
That's always been a joke amongst all my friends. It's like, I'm leaving and I'm not coming back, and they come back.
And then like 5 years later, they're like,
and then
this
with
place
all
is
of my
pretty
other
cool.
friends, it's like, oh, are you leaving and not coming back?
Really? Guess we'll never see you again, Hank. Guess you're never coming by, Hank, forever. Goodbye.
We'll see you in a year or so.
Right. I too have done the I'm leaving and never coming back thing already before, and within the 9 years I've been here, I was like, oh no, I moved to Nashville and to Atlanta, and both times I was like, man, I gotta go back. This ain't cutting it.
Yeah.
One thing I noticed was I've made more headway in my career with acting, music, stand-up comedy. I've made more headway here than I have any place else.
Really?
Oh yeah.
Do you have a theory as to why that is, or just?
I have a couple theories. Now, first and foremost, social media has exploded in the last few years, obviously. It's 2018 now, but just, 5 years ago, it wasn't as big. It was like still growing. 5 years before that, it was like, oh man, it's just getting started. You go 5 years before, 2008, there was basically no social media. Right. MySpace had just come out in 2003.
Right.
So there wasn't a whole lot. So like now, I can, make a video, make a short film, release it, get, 2,000 views on it. I've got 2,000 new eyes on my stuff, Yeah. So if I have a show somewhere, I can say, hey, I'll be such and such place, come see me, and people can come out and see. I can do that from my living room here in Johnson City. And also here I've got resources like affordable housing. It's not as expensive to live here.
Absolutely.
I have friends that can help me with things here. There's people, there's resources and connections you can make. Also, I don't know, I feel like this is my comfort zone. So I know for instance, I know that there's roads at night where I'm probably more safe walking down at night here than if I did the same thing in like Atlanta, because I don't know Atlanta like that. There's a lot of places where I'll never be seen again if I just walk by myself at night. Here it's like, okay, I know where I'll be safe, or maybe not quite as safe, or what I need to do to prepare myself. It's just a different, I don't know, it's different.
Go ahead.
Well, it's weird for me. I have a different perspective because I grew up in Johnson City in the 80s and 90s. And the only thing in Johnson City to do with the 80s and 90s was go see music and get drunk.
Fair enough.
Or you could say or get drunk, but usually they went hand in hand. We were stuck in a valley when I was a kid. There was no internet.
Oh no.
There was no going to Asheville because Asheville at the time was 2 hours away.
Right, because it wouldn't have been.
They had finished 26. You go to Knoxville, that was an hour and a half away, and it was okay, but everything in Knoxville was too expensive.
Right.
So we were stuck, and so we went out in the country and did all kinds of dangerous stunts and stuff. And so now, once social media came along, that's one of the first things that I latched into when I saw social media coming along. It's like, wait, I can connect outside the area, and I swear, my ability to do my gigs and do my entertainment stuff has risen with the popularity of the internet, because I'm no longer limited to just what I can do in this area.
Exactly.
And it immediately connected me to all these other places, and now I travel on every other weekend. I'm out doing a gig somewhere,
Right.
And it just made a huge difference.
And it's funny just because here you'll have there's people I can that might know me or you here, and it's like, oh, okay, cool, there they go, that's awesome, I know them. And then if the internet or social media wasn't around, that would just be it. But there's people. There was a girl on Snapchat from Mexico that added me because she saw something somewhere and thought that it was funny, and I'm like, awesome. She sought me out because I know that my humor is not like, it's not everybody ain't into it, and it's cool. I got it. You're not gonna hurt my feelings, but it's cool because that person in Mexico. who snapped me solely in Spanish. I don't speak Spanish, but whatever. They couldn't tell by my all English videos that I don't speak another language, but whatever. But that person had access to me, and vice versa now. And so like it's just cool to be able to extend your arm in different directions now. It's neat. I don't know.
So when did you switch from being a band director, wanting to be a band director, to wanting to maybe be more into the film side of it?
Ooh. Well, that is.
Or was there a long?
Well, actually, I made several adjustments. So, okay, so when you're a kid, I mean, you either do one of two things. I think you either are going to do exactly what your parents say, or you're going to kind of rebel a little bit, do the exact opposite. I think I did both. So at first, I did the exact opposite of what my mom wanted me to do, and she was like, "You need to be she wanted me to be a lawyer." Because I don't know.
I want me to be a lawyer too.
I don't know why that's the go-to profession for like all kids.
Every
it's like
lawyer I know is like, do not become a lawyer.
Like, I think anyone would tell you, like, hey, this sucks, man. Don't do this job. It's stressful. But all parents are like, you should be a lawyer or a doctor. Mom, you know me. You've known me for longer than a month. Why are you
really
suggesting?
Think I'd be good at it?
Like, do you really think I should be an open heart surgeon, Mom? I ate butter as a child. Just straight up, so I did. So my mom wanted me to be a lawyer, and I was like, "No, Mom, I'm in band, and I'm going to be a band director." Okay, so I did a semester of music ed classes, and that was the last semester I ever did music ed classes. I was like, "This is not for me. This is hard. Who does this? Why are you doing this to yourself? Do you need help? Are you in trouble?" So then I changed my major to criminal justice because my mom said you should be a lawyer. So I did exactly what she said. Did that and got my degree in criminal justice. And I was 26 when I just looked in the mirror or something, and I just was like, I don't ever want to be a lawyer, a cop, probation officer. In fact, what I want to do is work in film. So I was 26, so that's 5 years ago. But ever since then, I've just been I've been getting any chance I can, any situation I can to be involved, I'll do it. And so because I just felt like for the first time I felt passionate about something, but I'd always been told, well, you can't make money. That's not a realistic goal to work in films. You can't make money doing that, which is far from the truth. What my mom should have said was, you shouldn't expect to be a movie star, which that's realistic. That's fine.
Honestly, yeah.
That's fine. And I probably, and for the record, I don't make a lot of money acting. I don't. That's not where the money comes in at all. Like there's certain gigs you might get that make a lot of money, but the things I've done, I think the most I ever made was like $500 for a thing. But we're not talking like royalties, and like it wasn't anything like, these are like either commercials or like small roles in like little shows on like the Investigation Discovery Channel or something. But I did whatever I could for however long. So I for the longest time, for like 2 years, I would just be at Wharf Pickle, the broadcasting building or whatever on campus. I would just either be hanging out, or I would go and sit in a class, or I would and I was there so long that professors actually thought I was a student. They were like, I had already graduated. I wasn't in grad school. I was just hanging out. I was a creepy dude just chilling out. But they were like, whatever. He seems right. I was talking to the students and stuff, and they were like, there's nothing wrong with that.
Do it though. So, that's how you do it.
Hey, in this situation, it worked, and no one got fondled. It's fine.
It's perfect.
It worked out.
At least no one got fondled against her will.
Against it, yeah. So you always ask permission before, But so I did that for the longest time, and I realized it didn't go away. Like the passion for it never went away. I always, kept wanting to do this. And so I said to myself, something, I either need to actually try to do something with it, or I need to just shut up, work my day job, and just do that and just make money and be happy, whatever. So for a while I actually was like, all right, I'm not going to do it. I'm just going to work my job. And the longer I worked, the more I was like, man, something's missing. I gotta try something. And that doesn't mean that like I'm saying I'm gonna go off and go to Hollywood and become an. No, what I'm saying is I want to be in the industry, the film industry, and that can take many different shapes. And I don't care what shape it takes.
Well, and I think it's interesting that passion. I have the same passion about writing novels as I write, but I think it's interesting how so many people have this mindset of either you become a movie star or you don't do it at all.
Right.
you're either Michael Crichton or you don't write at all.
Nope, never.
But there's so much room for finding enough to satisfy you and grow.
Yeah.
And be okay with that. And Johnson City, like we were talking about, is a perfect place to do that because it's
It's the small pond you hear about.
Yeah.
I mean, you can accomplish things on a smaller scale than going. You don't have to go nationwide. If you start here, I started announcing for a roller derby team in Johnson City, and now I'm doing the monster truck races at Bristol Motor Speedway, and I'm traveling all around the East because Johnson City gave me that small venue to really perfect what I do and move on. And I think that's a strength. A lot of people call it a problem. It's like, it's a small market.
Nope.
But you can make mistakes. That's it.
Yep.
When I go to Nashville and I'm with these other professional MCs and stuff, it is brutal, the competition these guys have. And I'm like,
you can't. You can't make a mistake in that atmosphere. You cannot, because there's someone waiting that won't make one.
Right.
There's someone already right behind you waiting. All right, let me make sure Shannon messes up. Let me make sure Cliff messes up. You know, and when I get in there, you know,
Exactly.
and like you can't allow them to do it.
and it's like, how does anyone make it in a place like Nashville or LA or New York? I mean,
Well, that's what I do respect people. There's part of me that sometimes is like, why didn't I move to New York to be a writer? But then I see, like, I have friends from high school who, there's this one girl, she's been in a few films that have been at Redbox that I went to high school with, and from what I know, she's making it as an actress. And I do respect that sort of ballsiness of like, yeah, I'm gonna go, and I'm gonna be awesome. Because I never did that. But then there's something I really appreciate about being like, you know what? I'm just gonna chill out here.
We're gonna have an actress. Actually, one of your co-stars from Brontosaurus, Casey's gonna be on the show eventually. Because she is that person. She is going for it 100%. She is an actress, and as far as I know, that's her passion and her, overriding obsession. She's young and she's trying to break in, and I think it would be fascinating.
She's
to talk
great
to her.
at it, though.
Yeah.
No, she's so good.
Absolutely.
I know that without a frame of reference in this interview, just understand that she's very good. Understand that when I was acting with her, I was like, I shouldn't be here right now. What has happened?
That's awesome.
Well, speaking of acting, why don't you tell us about some of your film projects?
Okay. So I have a web series called State of Franklin that finished filming last year, and from that point, I have a co-writer, by the name of John Morehouse. We were going to write season 2, and it was going to be awesome. And then there was a point where I just kind of was like sitting there thinking, I was like, man, you know what? I don't feel it anymore.
Oh.
I don't feel that character. I don't feel that universe. I don't feel like making that story continue, because the way I ended the season, it really it ends it. It ends how it ends. So it's like, do I need to revisit it? I'm a big stickler on unnecessary sequels. I'm a big.
Thank you.
Thank you. You know what I mean?
So much.
A second season is an unnecessary sequel, especially if I can't justify it existing. Now, there is a story that exists that potentially could one day come out, whatever. But I'm currently, I don't have any projects I'm working on actively right now, because I said I needed to take a step back and write and just see what happens. So I started writing, and I ended up, I have another idea for a web series about a call center. Has not finished. It hasn't even started. It's in the very early stages. Like very, very early. I haven't written the script yet, but I've got the story. I've got my lead actress, if she'll do it. She says she will so far, but we'll see. But it basically centers around a mid-20-something girl working at a call center and just realizes, oh shit, what am I doing with my life? Where's my life going?
Oh, that's great.
Something that a lot of people in Johnson City
absolutely
have experienced at the
People
random
in
call
this room
centers.
might have experienced.
Hey, boom, right here. And so I decided that if I'm going to produce the next thing I produce, I want it to be relatable. State of Franklin at first was relatable, and then it became not relatable anymore, and that was a mistake on my end. It was just it's a writing mistake. It was just, in retrospect, I look back and I'm like, man, I don't relate to that. I think it's funny. I don't relate to it. So then you lose your audience a little bit. And so I said, the next thing that I produce, I want it to be relatable. So that's the thing I'm working on for myself. I did do a short film with a good friend, Mike Fink. I don't know if you know him.
I saw that short film. It was at my laundromat down the street.
Yep.
It was fantastic. It was I know Kelly that was in it as well. Fantastic, well done. I think I shared it on the hometown site when it was released. I just thought it was everything done right. It was great.
Mike knows. I mean, he's a talented guy. And actually, Kelly, that would be my lead for the new web series that I was thinking. She said she'd do it. I don't. We'll see.
I adore Kelly.
She's. I think about some of the. There's just so much talent around here.
Yeah.
And so many talented people, and I think I'm like, man, I gotta step my own game up because, like I said, I don't have any like active projects right now that are film related. I can say that I was writing some music and started writing like a pop album, which I know nothing about pop music, but that's something that I'm working on. I probably will start doing some acting gigs in Knoxville here in the next couple months, just to make a little extra money, just to kind of get kind of shake the webs off a little bit. It's been I had to stop for a little bit and just focus on work for a little bit, just making money, paying off old credit card debts, just kind of just living life.
Yeah,
tightening things up.
Yep. So that's what I had been doing, but I started thinking, and I know that I'll be here for a while because of school. While I'm here, I want to use that opportunity to kind of, I guess, gather my resources that are here. So being around people that want to act or that want to help with writing and film and stuff like that, and kind of just seeing what I can put out here that will be really great quality that people will enjoy overall. So
that's what the production logo you see before our web show starts is Tech Mohini Creative. Since the early 2000s, that was my project. Originally, it was an online project to bring together all of the artists that I knew to collaborate. First thing I learned is artists don't collaborate; they get drunk together.
Yeah.
So I just took it on as a production logo.
There we go. So speaking of which, yes, thank you. Yes.
There you go.
Well, that's what I always liked. The Acoustic Coffee House is closed now, but there were a lot of nuts there.
Yep.
I think we can all agree. But there were also a lot of people there who had a lot of raw talent. And there'd be some nights I'd be there and I'd have so many conversations with people, and I'm thinking like, we're like Paris in the 1920s.
I don't think that ever went away. I mean, even my old apartment that I used to have before I moved to the current Tech Mohini compound, I would have art shows. And the goal of the art shows was to bring in not only every artist to just fill my walls with all of the art that they could do, it was to bring in the actors and the filmmakers and the weirdos.
Yep.
And so you would have, I literally had a closet where a girl was in there, and when you opened it, she would just scream and tell a story about her mother. And I had another one that
she was a part of the thing, right? Oh, okay.
She's still in there.
Oh, she lives there.
Oh crap! They knocked that building down. Oh no! But no, that was always the joy, is bringing people together and seeing what happens when completely unlike people collide in a creative environment where everybody's encouraged to be as weird as they want to be. And that's what I loved back then.
Although, do you run across this problem? I find when I try to collaborate with other artists, I generally find that so many of us are big idea kind of people, and then actually getting the work done, the little minuscule things done, that's where things get lost.
And I think that is the problem with a lot of creative types, is we have these visions of grandeur. We have these.
We're very narcissistic.
And we're like, just me, and I'm gonna do this and that, and
a whole installation of dildos.
A whole room.
It was one of those in the old
that is definitely something, and I mean, I've been guilty of it too.
Oh right.
It's just, I think it's one of those things where we let our imaginations get the best of us before we realize it. We're no longer having an attainable goal. Yeah. We no longer have something that's actual possibility. So for me to say, all right, I'm gonna go and make a hit movie. I'm gonna become a big movie star. Well, that's kind of, but I could make a short film with some creative people around here, put that into some film festivals, then potentially get more exposure, blah blah blah. But we don't think about it in terms of like it's a step by step, and there's small parts you got to do here. And
well, what is it? This isn't a creative thing per se, but there's a guy who writes books about entrepreneurship, and he was like, when I hit it big, everyone was like, "Oh, you're an overnight success," and he was like, 10 years.
Right.
I spent 10 years grinding, and I feel like that's how it is with creativity. Is you know, you may keep making your films, and it may be 10 years before one of them makes it big, and people think.
I have a different perspective than both of you. I'm a little older, and I went through that. I would have these behind the sky ideas. I made my short films, but it was always a little more than I could wrap my hands around. And then I quit for 10 years. I quit all of that stuff for 10 years. And over that 10 years, by doing something completely unrelated, I gathered the skills and the desire. And I like to think now I'm making these things happen.
Yeah.
I mean, this whole podcast thing is just me wanting to get back to my roots of video.
Yeah.
Because that was my love. I was a kid at 7 years old making 8mm film movies, but it takes skills to be able to pull together the people and the resources.
It also takes the right personalities.
Right.
Is it
Absolutely.
like you and I? Part of the reason we work is because I told him at the beginning, I was like, if you're willing to do all that, I'll show up.
Right.
And that was our agreement.
That's
I said, you participate as much as you feel comfortable.
All right.
I will take care of the rest. If you don't want to do any of that, you tell me up front, and we're good. And it's been we've worked really well together ever since.
I'm sure you've experienced this. Is I've worked with people who I think are incredibly talented, and I think we could make something good, but our personalities just don't work.
You know what's the thing about that, and I think I fall into this a little bit, is what we do, and kind of actually one of the bad things about social media. A lot of the ways I even meet or find out about people is through social media. So you look at their profiles, you look at their videos, you're like, man, I really vibe with this person based on what I'm seeing. But what they're presenting is just, that's just a presentation. Whenever I'm up on stage or if I'm behind the camera, not to say that I'm like fake or anything, but I'm a character.
But it's an act.
It's an act, and that's what it should be. You know what I mean? That's what I'm doing.
I like to think of it as a facade. You're putting up a little distance between you and them, and being a little more than one facet of your personality.
Yeah, and I think that we don't, I guess, take that into consideration sometimes. Now, granted, I will say this has actually been really fun so far. I'm having a lot of fun with you guys. We mesh well with each other, but it could have easily just been like I walk in and
awkward. It could have been awful.
And
I can tell you a nightmare story. I produced a story downtown, and I guess about 6 months into it, my partner, I'd met her on the internet, and we synced on this thing. She told me how much she hated me. I have never had anyone just say they hated me so much. But this girl, she just came from. And it's no one that's going to see this on my Facebook page. So. But yeah, it was just such a shock that she just came from a totally different place, and what I saw as being part of the performance is making things a little. We were doing an oddity burlesque kind of show.
Yeah.
You make it big, you make it kind of funny, you make it kind of ridiculous, and to her that was lying. And she thought I was just a big liar because I would try to promote the weirder parts of the thing, which is that's my passion. And so it just didn't work out. It was just that clash of people just don't sometimes.
How does she market things without making it look interesting?
I went back and looked, and she would just put it out there. Hey, we're having this great thing.
Okay, well,
silences that.
Goodbye forever. I don't care about anything else because why did you post this? Why did you?
She's very successful in the arts that she participates in, that she does, and she's excellent at it. I still am quite fond of her, even though she hates you. Hates me.
So strong.
She hated me so much she wouldn't look at me or talk to me. She came and only talked to the performers, would not talk. She was my partner running the show.
That just reminds me of all the sort of on-air issues, like I Love Lucy. Ethel and Fred fucking hated each other.
Yeah.
But we always did at the show.
I have okay, so I did I was on a show called, what was the name of that show? Fatal Attraction. Is on the Investigation Discovery Channel. They film it in Knoxville, so it's really easy to get on that show. Or
is it something?
It's Jupiter TV. Jupiter Television, I think. Jupiter Entertainment. Something like that. Anyways, go Jupiter. Anyways, I was on this show, And it was like a 3-day shoot or 2-day shoot. It was like I was there for like, I had to stay there a couple nights, and that it paid really well though. And I was gonna be like the main guy. Like it was like I was the villain. Like I was like whatever. I won't spoil it for you because you may watch the episode and be like, what's gonna happen? I'm the killer. I'll just say that. No, I'm gonna kill her twice now. By the way, anyway. They always make me a drug dealer or a killer. I'm like, man, come on. I can be a doctor or a lawyer. So I had this co-star, and she played my girlfriend. And I'm not perfect. I know that I come across as awkward or whatever. I don't think that I come across as rude. I try not to. Yeah, whatever. I could. I'm open to that. I could, whatever, have my days. Whatever. I meet this girl, and she seems just fine. Like everything is just okay. She's gonna play my girlfriend. So at some point, I know that I'm gonna have to kiss her on screen, which is whatever. Like whatever, fine. She's pretty, so okay. I don't. So anyways, we're doing this. It's a first scene, the first thing we do that day, and they're like, okay, so they're doing the scene is a voiceover, so it's just a shot of us interacting. But there's a voiceover, so they can't hear what we're doing. So they'd have to be able to see what we're feeling. So they were like, okay, you love this girl, or you're really into her, you're flirting with her, blah blah blah. You're trying to get her, you're charming. You're trying to just charm her pants off, basically. And I'm like, okay, whatever. So I'm doing my thing. I'm just talking to her, and whatever, talking. I'm not lying to you. She stopped the camp. She said, "Hold on, stop recording." Turns to me and goes, "Do you know how to flirt with a woman?" And I was like, until this very moment, I thought I did. Literally, the whole production just freezes. They were like, everyone, and maybe it was because there was a bunch of other dudes, but they all were like, I thought it was alright. I thought that's what I would have done. I did what I would have said. It was just like, and it just went downhill from there, uphill, whatever the phrase is. It just got worse. It was bad.
Now I want to watch it just to try to see.
Absolutely. I got to see who this chick is.
I'll have to send you guys a link to the episode. I'll have to find it. It's I don't know that you can tell that she hated me, but she hated my guts the whole time. From that moment, she just hated me, and I was just like, I would try to make small talk with her. She would walk away, like,
I know
okay.
what it's like.
Yeah. So it's.
It just came to me. Have you done anything in Asheville?
I've done comedy in Asheville. I've never gotten to act there.
Well, because I know that the acting scene there, the film scene there, is really growing.
Really?
Because a ton of people are coming. Like last year, I think Ben Affleck did a film there.
Really?
Like, they're...
Yeah, and the open auditions are becoming a little more often over there too.
Yeah.
If I come across some, I'll send them. I'll just send them your way.
Please do. Yeah,
I usually
awesome.
send them to folks that I know that are into such things, but I kind of just assume that actors are already into it.
Well, that's the thing. There are so many avenues for finding castings. Sometimes they get missed. Technically speaking, I have an agent in Knoxville.
Oh, you're part of Gage.
I am. I'm part of Gage Talent. Wonderful, wonderful company. But I mean, they're people. Mm-hmm. So there's going to be times where they miss stuff, or I miss stuff. So like when you sign with Gage, they tell you, hey, look, we can find you stuff, but you got to look for yourself too. So just because someone's an actor, I don't mean they got all the listings, because there's a lot of them out there. And it hadn't even occurred to me that Asheville could have a burgeoning, blossoming.
Well, the people I know in Asheville are on the. You know those people you see on the streets doing the weird stuff?
Hey.
Those are my friends. There's a lot of underground theater going on in Asheville right now.
Really?
It is superb. It is people just going out of the safety zones, pulling out the stops, doing weird puppet shows, doing all kinds of great underground stuff. I perform with Unifier Theater over there, and so I'm always coming across new people. I'm like, how did I not know you? It's really cool. Now,
if I don't get to see a puppet show while drunk at some point in my adult life, now I'm going to be very upset.
Road trip. I'll set it up.
Yes, please, God, that's amazing.
It's about 4 times a year they do the puppet. I haven't seen it in a couple of years. Maybe.
Because when I hear weird puppet show,
sexual. Like, all right, Kermit's okay. Why is Kermit's dick out? But wait a minute. This had nothing to do. I thought he was just. They said he was.
Piggy.
What, Miss Piggy? Now, if you don't put that camera down,
More likely, I'm like, okay, we're gonna need more light under the pig.
Oh God,
Can we get that light lower?
Filmmaking ruins everything. You can't enjoy anything ever again. I'm talking porn, regular TV, movies, because you're gonna be like, oh man, you know what? The aspect ratio was kind of off in that last. Wait, what?
You know, his dick kind of had some wide angle distortion that I'm not really happy with.
Not like, they didn't. That color grading is really bad on his testicles. It's really bad. It's not good.
Come on, color correction. It's Adobe.
It's bad. Like my girlfriend Emily gets on to me all the time because we'll be sitting. We were watching Black Panther, and I was just like, oh man, so that shot. Well, that's how how they did this was blah blah blah. Yada, yada. You know what? They screwed up just right. And she's like, "Can you shut up and enjoy the movie?" I'm gonna leave. I'm gonna leave you permanently. I'm just gonna break up with you. Like we're just done. We're just sorry. I'm sorry. I'm just telling you that. Yeah, it's bad. They filmed this in 24 frames per second. Where are you going? Where are you leaving? Like,
baby, I love you.
Baby, I love you. I'm just trying to tell you that if they increase the frame rate, the slow motion will be. Where are you going?
And that whole background's not even there. Wait.
Well, what are you? It's bad.
Although I think that's true of most things you become obsessed with. You become annoying to everyone else about it.
Yeah.
Like video, for instance.
I try not to. It's hard though. It's hard to stop yourself when you're passionate about something.
But it's all you're a champ because every time I start going on, you just I can see you waiting to go. There. Good job. That's all I need.
That's it. Once a week, just pat me on the head. All right.
Can you?
Are you okay? I know that you're a writer. Mm-hmm. It's probably gonna be a dumb question. Are you a stickler for grammar?
No.
Okay.
Because, thank you, I hate grammar. Partially because I never had a grammar lesson until I started learning other languages.
Oh.
So I was like 16 before I ever learned what a predicate was. And even right now, I couldn't tell you what it is.
Other languages.
Yeah.
You speak other languages.
Yeah.
How many other languages do you speak?
I'd say I speak 2 different languages, but I've studied 6 different languages.
Nice.
But like, the thing with grammar, this is the dirty secret about grammar. It doesn't fucking matter. It's all subjective. Pretty much all of this subjective.
I was an English minor. I have different opinions.
It's all subjective.
I'm the one with the grammar problem.
Okay, I feel you.
I mean, I don't like reading novels that have no commas. Like, fuck off with that shit.
Wait, there are novels that have been reproduced that don't have commas in them?
There are novels that don't have any punctuation.
Ugh.
Who is okaying these? What person in a boardroom is like, you know what? This is one long run-on sentence, but that's fine.
It's fine.
Because everybody writes 300-page run-on sentences.
Yeah.
Everybody does that.
Yeah, so grammar, not so much. I'm more for realistic. What drives me crazy is dialogue in, like, video games. Dialogue in video games is so bad. It's not natural.
It can be.
It can be.
Yeah.
It really is great.
It's a lot like porn. Sometimes you get the really good porn that has great dialogue, but usually you're just going to get whatever it takes.
You know, with porn, I found that it either needs to have no dialogue or funny dialogue.
Yes.
If it can make it funny and just kind of like alleviating, like, all right, obviously this is weird, we're going to watch 2 people bone, like whatever, and they can make it funny, cool. Right. Because dialogue, for me, dialogue is probably, dialogue and audio is where I struggle the most.
Yeah.
If I can't just dialogue.
Man, you and Ryan Renfro would get along really well. Because he's really great at. Ryan Renfro is another filmmaker from Johnson City, very talented guy.
And I've got to get Ryan on the show. Absolutely,
he'd probably love to do this show.
I've already got so many people from Brontosaurus online.
Might as well have
a Brontosaurus.
Yeah, have a Brontosaurus. Yeah.
We'll talk about Brontosaurus in a minute.
But dialogue is just so. Because you're trying to think, you're writing it yourself, but you're trying to write it naturally for 2 people, or multiple people, more than 2 people, and it makes it. If it sounds unnatural, it's because it is unnatural. It's a dude having a conversation in his head.
Well, that's true. That's true. But that's where I find it helpful. It's so dumb. Is just it's like reading out loud. Like whenever I'm writing dialogue, I don't know if you do this when you're writing it, but I seriously will spend hours just saying it. Like out loud, because it's easier to hear, like, oh no, someone saying this would have like an or like would have some more natural, like, you know.
I just have crazy conversations in my head, and they sound like what people would say. I write more scripts, and I don't write films anymore. But sometimes I'll write a short. And I'm writing an audio drama for a friend of mine. But I love dialogue. It's so much fun.
Nice. So yeah, the Laundromat short I did for Mike a couple months ago. It had some scripting, but it was more or less, he set the scene. And so he would tell us like key phrases and like, all right, make sure that you hit this point. And then, but otherwise he was just like, you guys have fun. And thankfully, Kelly and I we mesh very well together. Like, she is one person that I will seek out. I mean, I told you I'm trying to get her to, be the lead for my next thing because our chemistry is just there.
Yeah.
And so like when we talk, that would be a good person for me to dialogue with because it will come. It'll be entertaining or it'll work. But it's not like that with everybody. I have a buddy. I'm not gonna say his name, but I got a buddy who's helped with some stuff, and like the improv's just not there between us. It's just not. He's just not a dude that improvs. He's just not a dude that you got to tell him what to say. He'll say it and whatever. He ain't an actor though either, so like that's it's just not. He's just a friend of mine that was like, yeah, I'll help you, give me some beer or whatever, cool.
It's like I told my buddy, it's like, and then just go, and keep going, and then what? Forget it.
I think in general, I don't want to go see an improv show. Like you go down to your local community theater and
you've not seen the right improv shows.
That's probably true. I haven't. But I will say, to me, like in my family, there's very high value on wit, like quick wit, which is kind of like improv at some point. And every time I see an actor in a comedic situation, it's always funnier if it's off the cuff. I'm
just gonna plug a friend of mine. My friend Paul was with Einstein Simplified in Knoxville.
Yeah.
Great improv group. They've been around for 10, 11 years now. And Paul is one of the funniest guys I've ever met. He was also a roller derby announcer. That's how we met. And he taught, I've improv a little over the years. It was always just kind of in a public speaking kind of capacity, but when I started working with him, he took me to another level. I'm like, shit, you gotta learn how to do this. This guy's good. But his group, Einstein Simplified in Knoxville, highly recommend them.
Interesting.
They're funny. It depends on the night you get there. I've seen them twice, and
I will say Knoxville's growing too. I know that we're not in Knoxville, but I'm gonna go ahead and advocate for them. It's growing. I'm talking acting. I'm talking stand-up comedy. They're some of the best comics you'll ever see live, and they're right there in Knoxville.
The stand-up, especially. I met JC Ratliff.
Yep.
I met him in Knoxville at a thing that I was invited to be guest, and he was invited to be guest at this thing in Bristol. And I met that dude, and immediately we hit it off, and I started following him, and I'm just watching the comedy that's going on in Knoxville right now. It's blowing my mind.
The thing about JC is one of those people, like, he's probably better than he knows that he is. And JC, I don't have a problem saying JC knows that he's good. He knows it. Whatever, he doesn't have a problem talking about it.
He told me about it a lot.
Right, he'll talk about it. But he's better than he thinks that he is. You know what I mean? Like, honestly, if the right set of eyes got on him, he'd be touring nationally.
I agree.
But he tours regionally. Like, he's got a following.
That just reminded me of, like, Trey Crowder.
Yeah.
I saw him at Hideaway before, like, right at the beginning of his, like, he had started Redneck, the liberal Redneck.
Oh, okay.
And I saw him and he's one of those guys that, I know he's not from Dawson City, but he's from Tennessee.
Right.
And there's a huge part of me that's like, there's that pride of like...
Right.
And he's great too. I'm not a huge stand-up fan, I have to admit.
Really?
I'm really picky.
I love
which is, I think it's just because of the Jerry Seinfeld and those are the guys. But anyhow, it doesn't matter. My favorite comedians are all local. There's JC who killed me.
Yeah.
There's Hunter Roberts who kills me every time he is on a stage. He did my show a couple years ago, and I died. I'm like, this is my kind of comedy.
Hunter pisses me off with how good he is. I'll be like, that's one of my good friends. But I'm like, fuck you. Like, how did you think of what you just did on stage, you son of a bitch? Like, stop being so talented.
It's easier for the the rest of us.
BS!
I haven't had a chance to see you on stage locally, anyhow. And you're said, how often do you do your stand-up these days?
Well, I'll say this. Local. I did a show like a month ago for the first time in almost a year. I actually pulled back from stand-up quite a bit because I realized that I think that I'm good at stand-up. I don't think I'm great at stand-up. So I think that I could focus my energies elsewhere. And so I started doing State of Franklin, the web series. I really liked just production, and I liked acting more and doing rants and stuff. I had a rant that ended up on World Star that people liked. People liked the rant, so I was like, okay, clearly people are responding to this, so let me focus on this for a little while. So that's actually kind of where I've been. I did a small regional tour last year with East Tennessee Comedy, but Dr. Steve, look him up if you don't. Dr. Steve's awesome. But I don't know, kind of like with season 2 State of Franklin, I just kind of lost the desire, the passion for it. So
I do that personally. I find myself, it's like I've moved past whatever this thing that I was doing. I just feel like I've kind of completed that, and I'm not that guy anymore. Right. So I need to recreate something who I am now. Yeah. And it just this is my entire life, my entire adult life of creative stuff is I'm gonna do this.
But you know what?
It's not me anymore.
But that's life, though, right?
Yeah. And I think that's healthy. Is if you find an artist who's fixated on one thing and can't get over it. I know people have been writing their novel for 15 years.
I know people that have been writing their novel for 30 years.
And there's part of me that's like, you know what? You might be writing the best novel in existence. 99% sure you're not.
Right. But they're not even writing a novel at that point.
Yeah.
When you're, and again,
they're just nitpicking.
I want to say I've never written a novel, so I am not the authority on this. You would be more than I am. But I feel like if I was writing a script for 15 years, am I really writing a script anymore?
Well, my rule with copywriting for my paid clients is if I've edited something 3 times, I've over-edited it. Edited it.
That's a lot of time.
But if any time past that, and I think that's pretty true of novels or any sort of script, is if you've edited it more than 3 times, you've fucked it up.
I think that's fair. Personally,
my
stuff needs to be fresh. Because once I start overthinking it and overwriting it,
just look at actually Woody Allen films and Quentin Tarantino films fall into this. You can tell, they're all good. Well, they're not all good, but they're all reasonably good. But you can tell when they're too polished. Yeah. You can tell when there's just too much thought that went into it. Sometimes you just gotta bone.